Welcome to the Three Things Podcast. I'm David Iglesias, Director of Wheaton Center for Faith, Politics, and Economics. You may be wondering why this podcast is called Three Things. You were probably taught by your parents, like I was, that it was impolite to talk to people about three things: religion, politics, and money. But what happens if your job is to talk about those three things? Well, let's find out. We have a fascinating finance discussion with the founder and CEO of Timothy Financial. He's been doing this 25 years. His name is Mark Berg. He's a 1993 Wheaton grad where he majored in economics. He was in the business for a few years, but he started and founded Timothy Financial, which if you've been to any football games, you'll see a sign on the corner there that says Timothy Financial. Well, this gentleman, Mark Berg, that's his firm. I learned something interesting about him, that Timothy Financial does a fee-only, hourly-only business setup. In other words, he gets paid by the hour, and I guess that's very unusual in this field. So I'll go into a few questions about why he did that. So let me just say welcome, Mr. Berg.
Well, thank you, David. It's really a privilege to be on your podcast.
Awesome. So why did you go into the finance world? Because econ majors do a lot of different things at Wheaton.
Yeah, that's a great question. When I was at Wheaton and I was considering life after Wheaton, the two things that I found most interesting to me, one was working with numbers. I've always enjoyed that, and that's the introverted side of me. But I also found that I liked teaching people, and so I had enough of an extroverted side to my equation that I was looking for something that could combine the two. And when I first graduated, the goal was just to get a paying job, but I was fortunate. Less than 2 years out of school, through a conversation with one of my favorite professors at that time, Bruce Howard, he connected me with an opportunity, and that got me into the financial planning field. That was almost 32 years ago now.
Oh my! Well, and out of interest of self-disclosure, Bruce is on my board of advisors, and let me say, he's a wise old guy, wise old man, wise old owl, whatever the phrase you want to use. He gives me the best advice, and it's normally just very kind of quiet. He doesn't throw things around. He doesn't yell and scream. He's just very measured, and that really speaks to me. So you've hitched your wagon. Early on, you hit your wagon to a really good person.
Yeah, no, he continues to be a good friend and an excellent golfer. He regularly beats me golfing here locally.
Yeah, I wish I golfed, but I end up golfing once every 5 years, which means I am beyond terrible. I mean, I consider it a victory if I hit the ball, and then it's a double victory if I hit the ball and it goes where I kind of want it to.
Yes, the joys of golf.
Amen. So you've been doing this for a while now. Did you start off in the Wheaton area doing Timothy Financial, or did you start elsewhere?
Good question. Yeah, I started close in Bloomingdale. I was fortunate that one of the people that I interacted with before I even started Timothy, he called me while I was still in the consideration stage and asked me how my decision making was going, and I said, yeah, still working through it. And he said, well, if it helps at all, I have a whole second floor, fully furnished offices, could connect you with my telephone system, my T1 line, and no cost. And that was really, honestly, it was actually an answer to prayer, because that morning, so several of the people I talked to as I was considering making this move said, don't do it unless your wife is 100% on board. And that was sage advice. And she was not. She because I really did enjoy my prior financial planning firm that I worked for. But just really felt led to do something a little different within the field. And she just couldn't understand the shift. She was a stay-at-home mom at that point with 2 young kids, so it was a big risk for us. But after he called, and I called my wife to let her know of that call, she said, "All right, I'm all in," and that was all. That was the answer to our prayer that morning of, "Lord, just make it clear." And so that's where I started. So that was Bloomingdale, which was not too far from Wheaton.
So your wife said thumbs up, and you did it. Well, and that touches on a really important topic of you've got to talk to your business partner, who, if you're married, it's your wife, it's your life partner. And I've learned that lesson myself. So every time I used to practice opening statements and closing statements for my trials, I would practice in front of my wife. And I would say at the end, "Okay, what happened?" And if she could recite it accurately, I was doing my job. If she could not, then that was on me. I never blamed her for that. So I think that's just a really smart. I don't know who gave you that advice, Mark, but that's superb advice.
Actually, so I probably talked to at least 10 different people and showed them my business plan, and over half said the same thing. Don't do it unless your wife is 100% on board. So I'm glad the repetition stuck for sure.
And it crosses professions.
Yeah, very, very much so. A lot of them were small business owners, and probably had seen the mistakes others had made and didn't want me to make the same.
You bet. Now, what year did you come to Wheaton with your company?
So we moved into Wheaton in, that would be 2002. And so we've had 3 different office locations. Our current location, I can actually see the Billy Graham Tower out my window, so about a mile away.
Wonderful. And why did you pick Wheaton and not some other location? I mean, one of the things I've learned since coming back in the area, there are lots of decent communities in the Chicagoland area, but why here?
There were a lot of reasons. I'm from Arizona originally. That's where I grew up, and came here for school, and just really found the Midwest to be kind of a special culture out here. And Wheaton had, with Wheaton College being kind of the center of the town, I just made a lot of great connections, especially through our church. And as a result, we just developed roots. And I considered, downtown as a location or other places. And we actually had a Chicago office for about 10 years. But Wheaton has not only been a great place for my family, it's actually been a great place for my business, because we've recruited, we're at 21 now. In fact, our most recent hire, which started 2 days ago, or yesterday actually, is a Wheaton grad. And we have probably at least half, maybe 2/3 of our advisors here have Wheaton College roots.
That's remarkable. That makes me think of some other firms that I will not mention on the air. But I think there's a different product here. There's a different level of integrity, I would hope. So good on you. Where in Arizona are you from, by the way? Because I'm from New Mexico, and a neighboring state to your east.
Yeah, I grew up in Scottsdale before Scottsdale was Scottsdale. So it was a nice town, but nowhere near what it has grown to in size and in wealth as it is today. But it was a great place to be from, and I still have all my family of origin still living out there.
Yeah, I remember when Scottsdale was a bunch of like old-fashioned Wild West replicas.
Yes.
Now, I don't even know if those places are still around or not, but now
most of them, the land was more valuable for selling to developers than keeping their show going.
Fascinating. Now, can you tell me how you, and I know you're a Christian, can you tell me how your faith has impacted what you're doing? Because, there are a lot of verses in the Bible that talk about wealth and talk about money management and things like that. I wonder if you can just kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, well, Scripture speaks, as you said, both old and new, to money all over the place. And I tend to spend a fair amount of time in the book of Matthew. I think the fact that he was a tax collector really made the parables that Jesus taught on money probably made him perk up a little bit more than the agrarian or the fishing analogies. And I think he kind of gravitated, from my perspective, in reading Matthew versus the other Gospels. So I've found a lot of great wisdom in that. And our firm works with really the whole spectrum. We don't hold ourselves out as a Christian financial planning firm. We're financial planning. We want to lead with excellence. We want people to hire us because we're going to do a very, very good job for them. And so we have clients of all faiths or non-faiths, but that doesn't mean that we can't apply biblical truth in our advice. With our clients who we share a faith with, we can be certainly more explicit in where this truth sources from. With clients who don't share our belief, they come to know pretty quickly, especially with me, my faith background, how important it is to me. But the truths of the Bible are not truths just for Christians. They're true for anyone. And the wisdom behind that is true for anyone as it relates to managing their money, the concepts of stewardship, the concepts related to diversification even, and estate planning, leaving to the next generation. There's so much wisdom that I have found clients with a Hindu background, from a Buddhist background, Jewish background, kind of the whole spectrum, have actually, I would say, come to appreciate that what we can bring to the table as a result.
Well, that's really special. Now, can you tell me why you decided early on to go fee only, hourly only, and not just charge, rather than doing some other method of reimbursement?
Yeah, there's a lot of ways that individuals who are in the financial services industry can be compensated. Some can do it through selling products, receiving commission, and that would come through a third party typically. So it's not coming directly from the client, it's coming from the insurance company or from an investment company. So that's a common way for compensation. Then in the field that's considered fee only is what they call it, where the client is paying directly or at least authorizes direct. There's three different ways. There's what's called a percentage of assets, where they manage the money. That's very common. And so kind of a running rate I hear is about 1%. That's kind of a normal of whatever they're managing for you. And they may or may not do financial planning around that. So, and that's a key understanding. We don't look at investments as financial planning. That's just a piece of kind of cash flow, tax planning, estate planning, risk management. All of those factors together are financial planning. And then others in the fee only world will do a retainer, so they just charge a certain amount per quarter or per year. We chose hourly because it it does a couple different things. One is it always puts us on the same side of the table as the client. We have nothing to sell. We've got, we're never going to direct them in one direction versus the other because it's in our best interest, because there is no our best interest. Our best interest is our client's best interest. Sure. So that allows us to really hold that fiduciary standard high. But what I would also say that I like about hourly is it moves with the client's circumstance. And what I mean by that is if a client all of a sudden gets a big promotion or has, a lot of complicated things that all of a sudden have come their way, we are equipped to work with them. And it's increased time, which is increased cost, but it's also increased value because their circumstance has changed. But as things get simpler, we're spending less time, and it's just the alignment of how things move over the course of a client's life, our time relative to value, I feel is very aligned. At least that's what clients tell us. So we like that. And then it also gives us the ability to work with people of all walks of life. So, we're working with people that are in their 20s, just getting started, helping them set good foundational principles to build on going forward on their cash flow or investments, et cetera, all the way to people who have amassed massive fortunes in the tens, even hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're looking for that objective perspective, somebody to come alongside them, help them with ideation and validation of decisions, being that trusted thought partner. And again, we feel that hourly approach allows us somewhat uniquely to be able to help them.
Wow. Now, can you tell me just a rough idea of the average client? So age, gender, educational background. Just can you kind of give us a composite?
Yeah, I would say at the highest level, our clients tend to be college graduates or advanced degrees. They are often really good in their field. Now, it doesn't mean that these are, they're C-suite. We do have a lot of clients who are C-suite, executives, but it could even be as a school teacher, where they're just really good at their craft. And we find this kind of common denominator with our clients, that they just have that desire for excellence in whatever God has called them to do. And so that's a common denominator. I would say another common denominator is they like to understand, they like to learn. And so they don't want somebody, they like the fact that we come alongside them and more partner with them as opposed to kind of manage them or come over them. So that's a unique element. But other than that, gender, we have clients that are, men, women, single, divorced, married for years and years and years, newly married, we were that whole spectrum. Then even age, we've got clients in their 20s and 30s. We've got clients kind of right in that middle. We've got clients who are in their 90s. So it's, and we love the fact that we can walk that whole journey of life with them. And then we can also, because of hourly, work generationally. So we have clients that literally we work with the grandparents, the parents, and even the kids. And hourly gives us that flexibility.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful to see godly financial principles generationally transmitted. And it doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't happen by osmosis, is my guess. Wow. So could you see yourself doing anything else?
Yeah, that's a great question. Not and enjoying it as much as I'm enjoying what I do right now. I absolutely love what I do. Every Monday morning is an exciting time for me. I love what I do. I'm thankful that I have a wife who helped create boundaries for me. So I'm home by 5:45 every day, and I don't work weekends. And that's because she has helped me keep to those boundaries. Because if I didn't have those, because I so enjoy what I do, I would just do this all the time. So I feel like I've got the best job in the world. And so, no, I really feel that the balance of skills that God has given me, the education that I was able to get at Wheaton and even before, really equipped me so well. I was just talking with one of the current economic professors, and he didn't know much about financial planning, and he was actually a little skeptical that it was a fit for liberal arts. And I said, well, let me tell you what I do, and then you can better assess, that question. And so I just gave him a little overview, and he completely did a 180 flip. I said, to me, the liberal arts education is perfect. It is a perfect complement for all the different aspects, the financial and non-financial areas that we delve into with clients' everyday life. So I'm very grateful for that background that I was given.
Can you give me a sense for what you told him? Because it sounded like you convinced him. You made him do a 180-degree turn. So can you just kind of simplify what you told him?
Yeah. So, we're dealing as we're working with clients with all aspects of their life, whether it's education planning, retirement planning, tax planning, cash flow planning, estate planning. And I think the way that I explained it is, there is a lot of other disciplines that I need to understand, psychology, and even, some of the technical skills, the math, even some of the sciences that really have helped me with my thinking and the way I tackle a problem, that really it's the combination of those things that I feel equip me well. The way I explain it to people is, when a new client comes, it's like they're bringing me a new jigsaw puzzle. So all these different pieces, and it's my job to not only understand what the future picture is, but then put it together with them and for them. And there's a lot of nuance and non-financial conversations that take place, not just in that initial kind of get to know you planning process, but actually even more so down the road as we just build relationship and trust. We're getting deep, and we're talking about life issues and heart issues and kids and dynamics and how money influences or impacts that, and giving, and all of those things really require a pretty flexible mind and a broad perspective. And that's, if I had just a very narrow university education, I don't feel like I could provide that type of counsel.
How much regulation do you get from the state of Illinois or the U.S. government?
Yeah, we were state originally, state registered, but as we grew, we work with clients probably in about 30 states now, and so some time ago we decided to move to the SEC because it just simplified the regulatory aspect of things. And what we found is they're not quite sure what to do with us, because we don't follow the usually they're looking at, well, what are you selling? Are you disclosing it? All the fees and all the kickbacks and all that. And it's like, well, we don't do any of that. We have no assets under management because we advise. We don't manage. And so by and large, it's not something that's they've really figured out, because there's not a lot of us out there, to be honest.
Interesting. So not a lot of competition. Do you think competition would be helpful or not in this regard?
Yeah, I have a bit of an abundance mentality, David. I think that the need is massive, and those that do our approach hourly, it's a very, very, very small subset. We don't do, outside of Wheaton College, that's actually more of a donation than anything.
I bet.
We don't really do any marketing of any sense. We're pretty low key, other than we do get invited to be on podcasts from time to time because we are a little different. And so we actually, for the last, I think it's been 5 years now, have been working off a wait list. We have so much demand relative to our supply that we've been, managing things through a wait list for a number of years. And so I would honestly welcome more and more people to start doing hourly financial planning, because I think if the word got out it would, I think we and those doing the service would be quickly overwhelmed. It's that unique.
Sounds like you don't do advertising then. This is all word of mouth.
Yeah, it's all referral, and interestingly, it's not only clients, which you would kind of expect,
Right.
but we actually get a lot of referrals from other financial planning firms, and that may sound counterintuitive, but
It does.
yeah, the reason is one of two reasons. One is somebody calls them, describes their circumstance, and let's say it just doesn't fit what the way they do things. They would consider us their gracious out, a way to say, that may not fit, but here, let me introduce you to a firm that probably could help you. So that is kind of one way of doing it. But the other is more obvious, which is it's not uncommon for people to call a firm thinking they do hourly financial planning firm. And then when they say, no, actually, we do it this way, they often say, well, that's not what we're looking for. Who do you recommend? And because there's not many of us and we're the largest in the U.S., usually, oftentimes they come our way.
Largest I didn't realize that it was the largest in the U.S. That's really remarkable. What percentage of the financial planning firms would you say use your method of fee only, hourly only?
Well, if I said less than 1%, I'd be overstating it.
Oh my!
It's quite small. It's quite small, which is ironic in the sense of when you look at all of the professions out there, CPAs, lawyers, psychologists, how do they all bill? They all bill by their time. And so it would make sense that if our profession would follow suit, but it doesn't. So,
yeah, I remember when I was a young law student, I would bill my time, and it was in 6-minute increments. And that was, I don't know if the legal profession is down to 5 minutes or even less, but unfortunately, the software exists to probably track that down to the second. But
actually we use software that tracks it to the 100th of a second. So it literally, so that's when we track our time, we literally just track our time, and there's no rounding up, and we just track our time.
Because it used to be, if you did a 6-minute or a 7-minute phone call, you'd bill 10 minutes or
12 minutes, whatever.
Correct. Yeah. So there were minimums, and I remember thinking this is not right. This is kind of a antitrust violations, because everybody's agreed to this massive fraud, and yet no one seems to be too bothered by it. So, Mark, I only have a couple more questions. Can you tell me what the mission is of Timothy Financial?
Yeah, our mission is to serve the underserved and the unserved with holistic, hourly, fee-only financial advice. And when we say underserved and unserved, we're really focusing on the client's perspective, meaning I cannot find somebody who will serve me the way I want to be served. So it's not the destitute, but it's underserved, meaning they have options, but not the option they want, or the unserved, they don't meet minimums or, whatever. And they're like, well, who do I get advice from? And we feel that the hourly model opens that door for them. Wow.
Now, I just got a couple more questions and then I'll let you go, because I know you have a hard stop here just coming up in a few minutes. But can you tell me what your life verse is? Because obviously your faith is central to what you do as a financial planner. So what is your life verse?
Yeah, I have, the beauty of Scripture is you have so many verses for different kind of reasons. So kind of with my financial hat on, which obviously that hat is on often during the week, I actually have a verse that's a little bit unusual, but it's very special to me, and it's found in Matthew. No surprise, Matthew 13, 45 and 46. And it says, again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who, on finding one pearl of great value, went and sold all he had and bought it. And to me, that is kind of the culmination of, Matthew later talks about you can only serve God and money. And when you realize the value of our faith and our relationship with Jesus, that relative to everything else is worth giving it all up. And I love that he sold it all and said, I want this one thing. And that to me, really, there's so many ways you can go. Stewardship, I think, is a part of that. Like, God owns it all. I'm just stewarding his money. I just have always loved that verse. So I thought that would be a good verse connected to
absolutely
to this.
Remember, my dad used to preach sermons about the pearl of great price, so I'm sure the reference he was talking about. All right, final question is this. Is there any area you should think you want me to explore? Any question I should have asked you but failed to ask you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would I'd maybe incorporate it into back to Wheaton College itself, since that's kind of our common connection here. Yeah. And is there a way that Wheaton can further support biblical, not only for the individual student, but also for maybe the profession itself? And what I'd say is a lot of people have come out of Wheaton with finance degrees and or gone into the financial world, but many didn't get a good, strong foundation while they were here on kind of personal finance. And one of the areas I'm really excited about that the business econ department actually recently approved is doing a personal finance class that's available to any student. And so, that's going to start in 2026. And it's just a 2-hour class, and I am so excited for.
Heck, I'll take that.
Yeah. It's going to be, I think, a fantastic addition for any major. I would recommend any parents recommend that for their student to take. And then, secondly, I believe that Wheaton could be just an amazing resource for the financial planning industry. And if they were to really develop a program that could effectively, feed the next generation of financial planners, again, I am so passionate that Wheaton and the education that they give could transform the industry. And so that's just a passion for me, and it's something that the business econ is considering strongly and may actually pursue. So that's
wow.
That's exciting.
Well, thank you, because I typically end my interviews with that question, and sometimes people don't have anything to say. You really did, so thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your time. Thank you for the passion that I see for financial planning done right. So,
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
All right, thanks, Dave. Take care.
You have been listening to Wheaton's Center for Faith, Politics, and Economics podcast. 3 Things with host David Iglesias. Join us again in 2 weeks for a new interview with an accomplished faith, political, and business leader.